Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, you, sir.
Good. Nice to meet you.
Please,
Yes.
Ooh, I'm loving this.
Where should I sit? Matter?
Listen, yeah, it's 1 hour. Yeah, right. But yeah, 1 hour. My calls are not. She's not coming today. Yeah.
So fine.
I can just
Good
leave
guy
this
there,
out,
here.
right?
Good guy here, right?
Yeah.
I just do that. You know,
Doesn't matter.
I just started my space on
Actually,
fire.
if you could skip it, would you be okay taking the next meeting?
Right behind?
Yeah, thank you.
So, yeah, Phoenix, I was telling Nicole about it. So I have these categories. So it's these 2 girls that created it. They're trying to recreate tie sticks. It's 2 grams of flour, 1.5 grams of shatter, and 1 gram of heat. And they burn for 45 minutes to about an hour and a half.
Are those the ones with the stick through?
No, but they do have wood tips. But they were trying to, that's the tie stick, and they were trying to recreate that.
I was gonna say, we're scooting down one.
Yeah, cool. He had them
My
too.
buddy just had one of those. He said it burned forever.
That's me saying.
He got 3 of them last night, because they retail.
Well,
The
one's on.
cigarillos are 100, and the categories are 150.
Okay.
And they use actual, I think it's cigar leaves that they wrap it in. I can't tell.
It looks like
I
it,
thought it
yeah.
was marijuana leaf, like an actual.
No, they're using cigar leaves. That's
That
one
makes
word
more
that's slow.
sense.
Yeah.
Well, the one that I seen the first time online, it was 100% marijuana. It was wrapped in its own leaf.
I think these are even apple leaves or cigar leaves.
7 hours ago.
Because it burns slow. How are the kids?
Good.
I
Very good.
don't know if it's gonna pull
Getting
out.
too big too fast.
We're doing Disney next week.
Like that.
Disney, immersive for Nevada Day.
Fun.
I'm so mad because I asked my friend for free tickets. And she's like, oh, want to do some radio promos? Because my friend confused me about this stuff too.
Exactly what you said.
And then after I buy my tickets, she calls me up. She's like, I got tickets.
Back to the future all over again.
Aw.
See you for a long time.
You can sign up like this.
I think I have a short or something.
There's that,
I
guys.
think I have a short or something. Can you make sure I'm plugged in all the way?
You know, when you need something, you get business on, you get your business for free.
I have it.
I got nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Before you go anywhere else for
Oh,
dental
it's slow.
plans, dental
No, it's going in and out.
is a
Here.
Then I was going here now.
Yeah, here, it's going here.
This is a little, it's just a slight little short.
Last week too.
You guys are all right. 11.
So when you guys posting everything after, tag Elevate.
Okay.
Before long.
Yes, yes.
Turn back to see who's popping that. Oh, you guys supposed to be a lot
Yeah.
bigger than you are.
Alright, so I'm gonna just play
Yeah.
Alright, so after this, we go.
Oh, Kendall did a presentation yesterday, Phoenix, at the, I hooked him up at the Expo. Okay, he's gonna say.
Yeah. What up? We in the building, y'all. Blended Podcast. We are back. I am Phoenix Orion.
This is in our box.
Mikey VIP.
And we got our special guest in the studio with us today.
You cut me off, man.
Cut you off?
And we
I got two before you.
the blended bunch.
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah, so, woo. Yeah, super hot.
That's one of my AKAs right there. Feedback. Phoenix.
Feedback.
They call me feedback.
Yeah, that's.
It's like that.
I thought you were talking about super hot.
Since day one in the studio. Shouts out to Cosmo D, Jam On Crew. Gave me that AKA. Could you So
That
with the
back
camera,
then with
bring
the
it over
little
so,
rock.
so we can get Guy, get everybody. Now we that way, yeah, right there, yeah. See,
There it is.
think of the crew. That's the crew.
Uh,
There we go. That's the whole crew. We in the building. All right, okay. So today's show, y'all, is called The Great American Green Rush. We're gonna be talking about trees.
Yes. Yes.
I know some of y'all been waiting for the show out there. I know Mike, you've been waiting for this show, right?
Yeah.
A couple of weeks and waiting for this show.
Everybody knows that we went legal recently, so it's a really big deal here, and the industry is booming here in Nevada. I actually have to say I'm really, really proud of the advancement that Nevada has taken.
The first week, did we do like what, 3 mil in sales the first week or something like that? Something close to that, am I correct?
The first month.
Yeah, the first month in sales, 3 million in sales. I don't know if we're making and breaking records, but you know, we doing things in Nevada, y'all. We're doing some big things.
Ooh, Miss Hayes, thank you for joining the party.
Oh, that's the headphones, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
so let's go.
right there. That's good.
Here, oh, so we can get everybody. Here we go. Oh, there it is.
Good. I'll move over.
Yeah, get out from the microphone. We're trying to get everybody in here. All right, get it in. Get it in.
The whole blended bunch inside the fan. There we go, y'all. That's the bunch, the blended bunch. That's the whole bunch. I'm in the building. So, while we at it, I want to give thanks right now on live on air to my friend here sitting with us, Mr. Guy. One of our, he's been one of our sponsors as well as a good friend for us for quite some time now. When we were several years ago doing events at the Up High Mansion,
Yes.
and
Hey.
yeah, and just being some freedom fighters. Yeah, I miss it too. Just being, freedom fighters, man, and future forward, for the cause.
Well, just to recap quickly so people know what we're talking about, we hosted weekly and monthly events at our home, our residence, which we deemed the Up High Mansion, and it brought the community together before it was legal. It gave, a place to, come together and
just think how long Chong has been doing it, and actually going to jail, and because we do conventions with him, he's always at the Champs. And several conventions that we do with a lot of his products. He has products, rolling papers, what have you. And he's been an activist in the community for a long time. But we got my guy here sitting next to my guy.
We have Lance, Mr. Lance Lambert.
Here in the studio. I want to learn more about you, man. I want to. Yeah.
You are.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I want to be. You're Guy's friend, but I want to be friends with you too.
I've got a story.
Okay, so just a little bit of history on Mr. Lambert. You are the former publisher of marijuana.com and the former GM of Cannabis.
Yes.
And you are now deemed a cannabis industry consultant.
Yes.
My first question for you, does this cannabis industry consultant partake?
Oh, yes.
Fantastic.
I
Okay, you
came
may
out of
stay.
I officially came out of the green closet, as we say, last year.
Oh, I love it.
So,
Yeah, there's a lot of corporate closet partakers.
very much so.
So what is your specific expertise within the industry?
Really, my focus over the past just under 4 years has been centric to media and marketing.
Okay.
Although Guy and I were just discussing this earlier, really being in that space, you have to have knowledge of all aspects of the industry. So everything from vertical integration to ancillary products like rolling papers and glass and all the rest of it. So we are fortunate being in that spot to be able to have relationships and rapport with so many people, a lot of passionate people, but so many people tied to the industry in general.
And now there's the stock market and the investment side
Yes.
of the green rush.
The penny stocks in cannabis.
Yes,
Yes.
and I got to, in a previous project, got to interview the Wolf of Wheat Street.
Oh, okay.
And that was a very, very interesting interview. I'm sure you know who I'm talking
I
about.
want to mix my bitcoins with my cannabis stocks and make it cannabis.
Oh my God, you just coined something.
There you go.
What?
Cannabis.
Okay, so go. This is your forum. I want to hear your take on what's going on.
Would you like that by state, by
Well, let's just
region?
start local.
You started in
I'll start local.
started in Denver. Did
Well,
you?
so yeah, I started. I'm originally from Northern California, so it's been around me for a long time.
Okay.
Obviously that was a big movement with the hippies and the Grateful Dead and everything that came out in Northern California. technically I went to college studying criminal law as a criminal justice major. So I thought I'd get into law enforcement, but I took this route, which pays better and less risk of being shot.
And a lot
a lot friendlier people. And they wear black because they're cool, not because they have to.
Right.
You know? So so that was my background. But yeah, technically, you know, I was in tech and then I was in media. But it took me moving to Colorado January of 2014 when they legalized what then we called rec, now we call it adult use. And it's funny, I got all the jokes on social media, all my friends back in NorCal are like, oh, we know why you're moving to Colorado. We know what the real story is here. And honestly, at that point, I didn't consume. I'd taken off because going to school and studying that's one thing that I couldn't do.
Right.
So I technically hadn't done it for some time. But yeah, it was Colorado. And it was a great place to be. It was definitely for a hot minute. It was kind of the Amsterdam of the U.S. And then Washington came online, and then Oregon came online, and so on and so forth. I have a huge fondness for Las Vegas. My family, we've had a house out here for a couple of decades, so I've been keeping a close eye on this market. And speaking specifically about Nevada, a lot of people underestimated this market. It's really interesting, just as an outsider sharing with you all, because you all are advocates in here, obviously.
Strong advocates.
Yes, strong advocates. And I came out to a couple of parties out here and events, and the passion was strong, and the people that were behind it were 110% behind it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That's kind of like the Vegas style of whatever we do. And that was something I was looking. I mean, kind of like actually looking forward to see how Vegas was going to do cannabis, because Vegas has a style to the way they do everything.
You do. even I went to a consultant. Again, this is so funny. Guy invited me. I usually do short trips out here. He's like, hey, stay. There's this consumption party that's going on out in the burbs. I said, okay. And it was like most parties where they had the appetizer, the hors d'oeuvres. They did have topless women with painted chests, and that's something I hadn't seen. I'm like, this is so Vegas. I love it. Because that was not happening in Colorado. That was not happening in California, let alone Oregon or Washington. So, but again, this being a second home, just keeping an eye on it. And a lot of people in the industry were like, oh, it's Nevada, it's smaller population, you know, compared to California, where the population is 39.2 million, or even Colorado, where you have 5.6 million. So it is a smaller populous state, but people forget the fact that it's a transient state, for one, and then for two, the amount of people that visit. I mean, this is...
Oh, it's part of what happened is now it's part of the novelty of coming here now. It's like people are like, hey, now when they come to Vegas, before it was like maybe a Cirque du Soleil show or seeing something like that, Rita Rutner. You know, now it's like, hey, I want to go to a dispensary. So, you know.
And then the bunny ranch.
Well, on that note too, earlier he had mentioned, like, you know, Denver being, that was the Amsterdam at the time. What do you think about, I mean, Vegas, I mean, I said it like 8 years ago that this would be the equivalent to the USA. You know,
immediately when they started accepting medical cards from all the other states before it went rec, I was like, oh that's what's up. And I'm really, really happy to see how quickly they're jumping on board to find the positive balance policy for the smoking lounges, because people have it, but they can't smoke it anymore.
It's true, and you guys address that. That's another really good example. And you're right, people are referencing Vegas, and it's from the inside out, but they were referencing this as the legitimate Amsterdam of this country. And it's true, because while you do have 72 million tourists on average a year that go to Colorado, that's tourism for the entire state. You have 43, I think it's up to 45 million a year that visit Las Vegas, just the valley. So we're talking about just one. We're not talking about Reno. We're not talking about Mesquite. We're not talking. So talking about just that, I mean, it is. And people do things here they don't do anywhere else. I can vouch that firsthand. As often as I come out and visit.
I would say 80% of the people that come here experience that to the 90th power.
It's so true, because you come to have fun. You think of fun, and there's been some tough times, obviously, in Vegas more recently, and even long term. But the big picture, you come to Vegas for fun. So it is a part of it. But I agree. I mean, you guys are so ahead of the curve. I mean, being there January 14 when they legalized recreational in Colorado, they weren't even talking about public consumption. They're so busy collecting the coin that was a secondary, and it took them a few years to really get their act together. You guys are on top of it. You're like, okay, we're selling it, now where are we going to consume it? And there is a little bit of push, obviously, you know, there's some powers that be.
The demand is so high, especially because Vegas wants to make sure they can stay in control of how it's regulated, so that way it doesn't get out of hand. And that's smart. You know, because that way there's no gray area, and you know exactly what you can do and what you can't do. But they're making it a fair playing field, from what I've been able to ascertain thus far. I don't know, maybe, you know.
I mean, we can personally speak from that standpoint, from events and things that we've done, and got you know.
The quick change in policy has affected us greatly. So we can tell you how quick policy can move here in Vegas when they really want it to.
The next week.
The next day. So yeah, you know, money talks in this town, and if it makes sense, then they're going to do something with it. And I'm glad that they looked at the positive side of it as opposed to fighting it, because it is the inevitable. So at least, and what it's going to only do is catapult the industry, I feel, you know, to be even more profitable and to be a better example for how other states can do it.
I completely agree, and it is. And you have guys like Tick and you have Sandoval. You have individuals that are getting behind it and aren't fighting it, because I think that Hickenlooper and Hancock out there in Colorado, they weren't for it. They made that clear. Not necessarily against it. They weren't for it. But even kind of being on the down low, I mean, the travel department of the government was not even recognizing out there the income, how much of the revenue impact from you know, obviously the tourism side of things. It's like, how can you not report that? I mean, you got $100 million in tax revenue. Why would you keep that off the books on how much?
Also, not to mention the impact on misdemeanors and petty crimes. This is something like nobody's really talking about and doing the statistics on, like how much the crime rate has dropped. I know there was something in New York City that I seen briefly on how they also got a little bit lenient as well on their laws. It's actually like no longer I think the lowest misdemeanor possible to be carrying. And that's a great leap for New York City. I'm from New York. That's a great leap. I mean, seriously, like a joint too. You know, there wasn't like Japan and certain other places where they get you, but you know, still you can do some time.
Yeah,
you know,
you can in Asia. I was in Singapore and I did not take any.
I have a friend of mine in the industry. Well-known group. Don't want to mention it. Like he was like they threw him in jail. Like it's like, oh, we don't care really who you are in the States. Like you caught you with a joint, you're going to jail.
Yeah, exactly true. So it is true. I think the fact that they lax in many states, you're right, and municipalities are decriminalizing, or they're doing a ticket and release, which is kind of a popular term used. But it's a fine. It's a $50 fine.
It's basically a fine.
I mean, it's ridiculous when you're talking about 65% of people that are incarcerated in this country, not just for cannabis, but for drugs in general. I mean, you know, we could go down that whole rabbit hole, but it is pretty ridiculous just how much the money drives the motivation towards making this a crime. So.
My guy here, you deal with a lot. You have Elevate magazine, publication here in town, so you deal with a lot of the new, upcoming cannabis companies and marketing.
And the change in policy as well.
Oh, all the change. I do want to say with Governor Sandoval was very anti it at first.
Yes, he is. At first he was. He's coming back. He did the same thing with us with the solar power.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Sandoval. All right.
It's like when he came around.
He came around because of the tax dollars.
When the cha-ching.
Governor Sandoval's legacy is education, and the rainy day fund was something he was taking a percentage of the taxes and applying it to school systems for the rainy day fund, which is he saw the monetary opportunities of cannabis, even though he was against it.
Well, that's the same. That's why Hickenlooper all of a sudden started going easier and easier, because you see the school system, the infrastructure, the municipalities that are rewarded from all of the revenue dollars in Colorado.
But the irony in that is, if you look at Colorado, there's a lot of the anti-propaganda that's like, oh, there's no tax dollars going to schools, and Colorado's like, here's a picture of the school. This is what marijuana built, and it's interesting.
I think we should deal with things accordingly. The first thing we should deal with is the fact that it is really saving people. It's helping people. The medicine side of it. You know?
RSO oil to me is the be-all, end-all.
100%.
It's amazing what it's done. We've put children with rage autism, where a mother would have to lock herself in a closet because the 15-year-old son would get so frustrated not speaking. We just put him on RSO about 8 months ago, and he hasn't even had an episode since then.
Wow.
Great.
I love that.
So, and even on the recreational market, which another point of history was made today. Today, Henderson, Nevada went officially recreational.
Henderson. Moving forward.
The source and all those are open as of today. So feel free to get cannabis, not just in Vegas, but Henderson as well.
Absolutely. Spread it out.
But with everything that's going on in the consumption lounges, we're expecting, they're meeting in December, and they're going to fast track the consumption lounges. But my understanding, the consumption lounges will be tied to each dispensary. Only dispensary owners will be able to open up the consumption lounges next door or near the parking lot.
That's what I heard. I mean, you know what? That's okay. I mean, places like Reef, who already look like they're pretty much set up for that. You know, again, forward thinking.
Thrive.
You know, they got their grow.
Got some space.
Thrive has some space.
What's the new?
I think New Leaf could figure it out.
What's the Native American one?
New Cannabis.
New, yeah.
Paiutes, that is actually another piece of history. New Cannabis opened this Monday. It is the largest dispensary in the world. It's 16,000 square feet total, but it's 14,000 square feet of retail space.
Oh wow, so that's bigger than Shango.
Looks nice.
Yeah.
Shango, I thought was huge.
Oh, this blows everywhere.
Where's the location of that one?
It's on Main Street in Washington, across from Palm Mortuary.
Okay.
Yeah, we gotta go check that out.
And they're doing
Got it.
10% off cards this week when you walk in.
Oh, beautiful.
We are card carriers here.
Yes. I still use my card. Even though I don't need it, I still use my card just because it's cheaper taxes.
Yeah, you get 10% break on that.
And I get to go to the front of the line, so.
Plus, we talk too much smack about legalization not to have our cards. That's like, yeah, vote or die, and you don't even, you're not a registered
I still
voter.
use mine here because, like you said, that's technically Nevada is. I have mine, and Nevada is the only state that
Except
recognize full reciprocity. So
Yes.
you have Arizona that recognizes reciprocity, but the catch-22 there is, guy has to be medical. I have to be medical. If I'm visiting him, then he has to gift it to me. I can't buy it from him, but he can donate to me.
Yes.
Gifted, yeah.
So, and then the
You
only
can
other
trade.
is Puerto Rico is the only other place that
Where you can
recognizes
trade.
reciprocity.
Oh, interesting.
So,
Interesting.
buy one.
All right, really quickly, you got some news for us tonight in the Twitterverse.
Oh man, we're gonna go
Ooh,
there.
wee.
Okay, we're gonna just go off topic for a second, you know, and have a little fun with this. Okay, so as I was going along my Twitter feed, all of a sudden I see fake Melania. And I was looking at that and I was like, oh my God. And everybody needs to know, I saw this clip originally in my headline news or whatever, and I noticed, I was like, wow, Melania looks so disheveled, and that's so disrespectful as a first lady to wear big glasses like that. Who does that? Whatever, I
I
finished
just
eating
noticed-
ready.
I just noticed that she,
No
I
big
mean,
deal.
they're usually detached, both of them, like, but I just
Right.
noticed she was extra detached.
Extra robotic. Like,
Yeah.
she looked hungover as fuck to me. I was like, you know, I'm just like, oh, I know those mornings.
And when she showed me the video, like, forced it on me.
It was so
Showed me the video, and I looked at the
The next
nose
day.
and the movements.
Yeah, the next day when it came up on my Twitter, I was like, what? And then they showed the zoom in, and then when you zoom in and you can look at the face, I'm like, that's not even her. They're giving us a first lady stand-in now.
Attack of the Clones.
What
Attack
the
of the
hell?
Clones. Attack of the
Okay,
Clones.
what are your guys' opinions on our POTUS in the Twitterverse?
Since everybody's jumping in,
Let me go.
Don't worry, we're not saying shit yet.
now it's really difficult to see what's going on right now. But I know it's going to be too soon. And I'm kind of curious if Harvey Weinstein proposition.
The hashtag Me Too.
Yes.
The hashtag Me Too
I
movement.
was so surprised after that how many people just in all my different social networks were coming up with strong hashtag Me Too's, and I was like, wow, this is the best movement I think for uniting a tragedy to make it a triumph. I think than any other thing.
What's not cool is the fact that it's actually been something that's kind of been accepted widely in the industry, because this is not new. I mean, we've all been in, you know,
Can we
I've been
clear
in
up
the
exactly
industry.
what we're talking about? Because I know about the incident, and I know vaguely what it's about.
Well,
but what
basically,
was done?
they're right now it's coming out as like Harvey Weinstein is basically a serial rapist, and he's been that and been using his power in
For
Hollywood,
decades.
who he is.
A sexual
For,
predator.
yeah, I mean, basically, you know,
Is
but
it the alleged Bill Cosby type situation?
No. This,
Well,
this
there's-
is real.
there's many women. There's a lot of creditable
There's-
females in Hollywood.
Ruby's not so much involved in this.
No, more so
You know, he didn't
power
drug anybody.
persuasion
Yeah.
to actually make sure that their career got off or did not. If he
Oh, I
got off
understand
or
the
did
motive.
not.
I just want to know how and what he was doing. You know, they put Marv
A
Albert
lot,
out there.
no, a lot of massages, a lot of voyeurism.
And yeah, Asia Argento and Rose McGowan has made accusations that he raped them.
Lapita
But-
just came out too, saying he also touched her.
And what she did is she switched it and said, "No, let me massage you," so that
Yeah.
way she wasn't.
Oh,
she
yeah, I
was
was
in
reading
charge.
that just
She was more
now.
in charge of the scenario, so it wasn't that he was dominating her. So Yeah, so
That's
he threw.
horrible. What a dick.
But he had more of a problem of just pulling down his pants after the massage. That's the majority of that he made several women watch him masturbate and like cornered him in vestibules. But strange enough, Asia Argento, who's Dario Argento's daughter, famous Italian horror filmmaker, had a consensual relationship with him several years after the rape. So there is a credibility issue to the rape. I think he's a creep, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think he used his influence to, but it's been a way of Hollywood for, it's
almost like,
and
not only Hollywood. I mean, now in the Olympics, the young Olympus, you know, she just came out and said to her, with the doctor, him, and he's been allegedly several other women too.
and those were pedophilia because they were all under the age of 16. Those.
So that's
Unfortunately, I have a daughter, man. So I mean, I don't know, like being on the other side of that. Yeah, you know.
But I think going back to your point, it's so we talk about this in marketing, but it can be translated. So you talk about trickle down or bubble up. So you have your trickle down where you start at the top, and if you're promoting a brand, you go to the businesses, promote them as such. But then you also have the bubble up where it's more of a root style. But that's exactly to your point with the hashtag. Just like Vegas trying to come out here, and I wanted to come out right after what happened, the incident, but I did give it a little time. But coming out and seeing just how strong the community is and how everybody's hashtagging it, like that is epic. That's cool to see because I know how big this. And people
I was
don't
very
get how
proud.
strong this community is.
I was so proud of Vegas, and just how like
That's
there
all
was
right
there
here.
was no question in anyone's
No.
mind. Immediately, no, we come together.
Yeah.
You know, and
I got some bars. Y'all want to hear some? I got some
Yeah,
bars right after it happens. That's the only thing I know how to do sometimes.
Right.
Like as an artist, is just write or do something. You know, paint or you know. Here we go. Real quickly, I'm just. We about to get blended. They said my city's under siege. I'll defend it. No more rumors about the shooter, let me end it. It was a crisis situation, so laws can be implemented. Them dirty demonic devils are devious and demented. Hearts broken at the harvest fest is not what they intended. It's time to rebrand my city, reinvent it. When we say what happens here stays here, we really meant it. By popular demand, we give the people what they want. New defenders of Sin City, they call us the blended bunch. Black Cobra strike system when I punch. Grits Cafe for breakfast and Mario's for lunch. Up high mansion, son, we still cheap blunts. Bad news got me stressing, sunlight, another one. Word to Kim Jong, can we all get along?
That's dope.
Rest in peace from the blended bunch, hashtag Vegas strong. You know, it's like, some quick bars, like I said, you know, when it says, yeah, I mean, at the time it happened too, we were planning on doing an event called The Harvest, you know, earlier in the year.
I remember you wanted
You
to do
know,
a farmer's
I like a farmer's market type of thing for cannabis, and I kind of like you close the door. I kind of like immediately was like, babe, I think we should. I just took everything down off the internet, just in solidarity. You know, the people, just the word harvest. It was the 91 harvest. I was like, it's just bad time, and then we canceled the event just to see how and what was going to happen. You know,
how
in terms of outside events,
the
change
policy for outdoor events now.
Yeah.
It's the problem is that we were talking about it yesterday when we were studying criminal justice. The copycat is common in things and events like this. Which I have a 10-year-old. I went to Rock in Rio and brought her to see Taylor Swift.
See,
you know, so now I'm second guessing. You know, and it's funny. I'll go to an enclosed arena, but now I'm going to second guess an outdoor venue.
I was looking forward to the EDC going green next year and a lot of other events. So now, especially things like EDC, it's just, you know, it's a fear tactic. You know what I mean?
They just had that big country event last night, and it went off fine.
They
had another one like a week right after too.
Didn't Damian Marley also do a show?
And I was like, really?
It didn't affect
the House of Blues right after.
That's good.
Vegas strong.
Well, you know, like they say,
went
just
to last night, and I was nervous. I didn't want her there. You know, I found out her friend asked her to go, and I'm like, I didn't know nothing about this. I was like, no.
You're gonna be wearing this full flak suit. Don't worry, it's completely bulletproof and Kevlar. You might be a little hot. Drink a lot of water.
Yeah, but they don't. It's interesting because it says a lot for people to still be strong. Because when the incident happened out in in Spain, and we must has an office out there, and one of our individuals was on the street when it occurred. And
with the guy who drove the car.
Yeah, and he said that they weren't just like, we're not going to hide, but they were pissed off. They're like, this does not happen. You are not bringing this to Barcelona. And I thought that was really interesting because it was almost, and I'm not a fan of combating hate with hate. I mean, it's like throwing wood on a fire to put it out. It doesn't make sense to me. But that's how passionate those people are. But I think you do have to have a certain level of confidence and passion. Like, we're not going to allow this. You know, it's not going to fly. No matter
what I've been noticing in the protest, blended bunch style, is there are a lot of our Caucasian brothers and sisters out there on the front line for us now. And it's funny. I mean, holding up the flag, the picket signs, Black Lives Matter, which is, I mean, I'm Black, so it's weird. I accept it. I love it, but I'm like, wow, like. That's what Martin Luther King was talking about. This is the time when he was saying, I'm not going to get there with you, but I see it. He's judging people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. Yep. And another weird thing about it, I have to say that I think I can only want to get away with that. Black people, where are you? Like, I'm looking at a lot of these marches now, and people are fighting for our future now, and it's a lot of the college kids, and it's the younger generation. A lot of the Latinos, the Asian community, and the Caucasian community. Like, where, it's like we only come out when it's like somebody in our particular community is hurt, or a kid is slain by the police. I mean, that's just the typical, like kind of like that's even, blended bunch, the blended podcast. That's what this show is really all about. I mean, we're all up here. We're all blended individuals, man, and we do cannabis too.
Yeah.
But
we love it.
You bring a really good point up. All the progress we've made, and it's actually going back to the Trump question.
Yes.
All the progress we made, the election of Trump brought out all the hatred even more, and it brought it to the top. It's at the boiling point.
And his slogan was "Make America Great Again."
Yeah, I know.
That was the slogan.
I mean, that's the thing that caught me off guard. Because like you, I mean, growing up in the Bay Area, definitely being around diversity, and I don't just mean the birth of the hippie, the yuppie, but all the time, I mean, all my friends growing up were Asian, were Black, and white, and so I always felt like I was very much neutral. But that's the thing that really pissed me off. I was thankful to see Obama come into office, be able to see out my lifetime. To see a woman would be nice too, but to see, I mean, Obama, that was a shit job for anybody who came in, and that guy rocked it.
We want to push Michelle.
Rocked it. And then
I was for Hillary. I was for Hillary this time, and she really got railroaded. This is amazing, guys. How like,
and it'll all come out. But I think the point is that his motivation was positivity. That's the thing, is his motivation was to come together with positivity, whereas Trump, his motivation was with negativity. And you see the extremes that come out.
Because he's bringing the wrong things together. I think he's going to make it stronger, and it's very unfortunate. But one thing, his agenda just makes me sick, because he is just demanding any positive thing that
we have to remember, guys, he wasn't a politician. He was not a politician. He was a very shrewd businessman. That's what he was.
He wasn't even a good businessman. Right. He makes the comments. He declared bankruptcy. Yeah, he declared bankruptcy 4 times. And people that vote for him, the way they justify him, well, all the great ones declared bankruptcy. I'm like, Elon Musk. Warren Buffett? No, the ones that are good are good.
Yeah, Mark.
Okay, he's thinking about running.
Mark's thinking about running, guys.
And if people like the CEO way of running our country,
what do you guys think about The Rock trying to run for president?
Oh
my wife's ecstatic.
I actually think politics should stay in the political field, and politicians. I mean, Schwarzenegger was like the first, kind of like a
Ronald Reagan was the first.
And I was young then, but that was still iffy for me too, because
he had a giant career in politics.
Yes,
as governor. He worked his way up.
He used his star power to do things. He learned. I mean, Reaganomics. I don't know.
Reaganomics.
That was.
He wasn't perfect, but for Republicans, I was kind of impressed with the guy.
Yeah,
I'll give him that.
Except he definitely wasn't Nixon. After Nixon, he
definitely wasn't Nixon.
Going back to the main topic, cannabis. He was the war on drug guy. Nixon might have started prior to that.
Reagan ran with it, so did his wife.
That was Nancy's big thing, and that was such a waste of money. And we all knew it.
The fight before, guys, was before even the word cannabis. We have to. It was hemp. It was hemp. And hemp been here since like World War was it one or two? When they were using hemp for the ropes and other things like that.
The biggest taxes in hemp in this country.
I have to say, like you, Lance, I was an advocate way before I ever smoked. I was very anti consumption, but I was all about the textiles for hemp and all the positive things it could do to the environment.
Could do.
So I was an advocate for the environment, then the medical, before even smoking anything else.
More on the environmental side for me too.
There was
environmental properties.
Yeah. So I mean, if you think about just as a textile, like for oil and petroleum, it would affect the petroleum industry.
Yep.
And then you have
clothing.
So
the paper industry.
Exactly. That was my next one.
Well, you're
saving out trees.
Yes.
Because you can create more paper products and wood products out of hemp stalk than you can.
Yeah, it's not an annualized crop.
No.
I mean, this crop turns every 10
Seasonal.
to 12 weeks, even with hemp. Yeah, it is very much seasonal.
But
as
that's
opposed to annual or
But how that affects the lumber industry,
Yep.
makes them cry.
And the environment.
How it
Oil
affects
in
the
general.
oil industry makes them cry, and then the medicinal industry makes them cry. And it's like if they don't understand, if they would just jump in on it, then they would still get their profits in a
Well, and the
positive
thing-
way.
especially I think that's the thing with the medical industry is the fact that, you can't grow, well, you can't technically, but I mean, you aren't going to grow opioids in your backyard. You aren't going to grow methamphetamines in your backyard, let alone cocaine or anything else. So it is one of those truly natural, and it is a God's gift. The plant has so many attributes, every single aspect of it. And the fact that we have an endocannabinoid system that it just fits perfectly with, it's only natural that we would love this thing.
Can you say that again?
Oh, so
Endocannabinol.
Yeah, the way that just rolled off the tongue.
Like a Snoop song.
I got my endocannabinoids plus some of my boys. They'll be coming making noise.
So to geek out, so if you let me geek out, but that's exactly, so we have ECB, an endocannabinoid system, we have
Yes.
CB1 and CB2 receptors, CB1 THC, CB2 CBD. So we're designed to consume this plant, as opposed to a chemist that I was talking to, and he's like, you know why you can take 800 milligrams of Advil? Because I cut out Western medicine last year, no more Advil,
Yes.
no more time, and I know it's not even Somnus.
Nice, man. Good for you, man.
All gone, right?
Good
And so
for
that's
you.
the thing is, he said that's why you take 800 milligrams of Advil, because your body only absorbs 50% of that.
Up and down.
The other 50% flushes through. So, and obviously those are things you can overdose on. Nobody's ever, I know everyone says it, but it's true. Nobody's overdosed on any aspect.
This is one of the
Right.
gifts from the gods. Reasons why George
Y'all spiritual
Washington,
NorCal on you, but yeah.
our founding fathers, they all had cannabis farms.
Yep.
But we're at the halfway mark right now, and I would like to give a shout out to our first official sponsor. if I
Hey, suck it to
may.
me, baby. Suck it to me. Suck it to me. Suck it to me.
Hey.
Okay, girl down there, I know you're gonna understand. Okay, I have this pet peeve. Right? When you set up your living room and you put your wall lamps in, or you plug all your stuff in, and you go to push your couch back, and it just doesn't go flush against the wall, or you have the cords just hanging everywhere.
But that annoys me too.
Yes.
Can I be a part of this?
Okay.
Let me tell you something, because we're all, in a way, we're all tech geeks. Like, if you do any type of marketing, whatever, you
The cords that are
the
just
cords.
hanging out of the wall for no reason, it's just there. Okay, well now there's a solution. Sleek Socket. So if you go to sleeksocket.com and check out this innovative new product, you're going to love it. It's affordable. It allows you to completely hide the unsightly, unsafe, and inconvenient outlets out of sight via a unique ultra-thin plug, measuring only about the thickness of a pencil. So it's flush against the wall. So, and then it sticks down the wall, and then it has an extension cord with 3 or more plugs on it. So anyway, so it's awesome. If you go to sleeksocket.com and use promo code NREINNRI, you get 20% off your entire order. So check it out. It's dope.
Sleeksocket.com.
I like
Suck
that.
it to me. Suck it to me. Suck it to me.
Suck it, suck
It
it,
sounds
suck
so good.
it. I know, I was thinking.
So, what do you guys have planned for the MMJ Biz Con coming up? I attended the first one. It blew me away.
Yeah.
I kind of wasn't ready for it. I wasn't. I wasn't ready for that. There was. I've been a brand ambassador for over 25 years. There are various different companies, Skull Candy headphones,
Cool.
and Monster Energy.
Utah.
Back from the days of Cross Colors. And went to the convention thinking cannabis convention, right? There was no tie-dye shirts. There was no dreadlocks. Everybody had on suits. And
Well, we still
that
joke.
said investor.
But everybody's still smoking, regardless of
It was just nice to see
We're
the
vaping. We're not.
Right.
Oh, speaking of which, here we go.
Oh.
Yes,
Not
here we
to
go.
get packs up, but I mean, this is.
Please
This is the way to go. I mean, see everybody like to show them this is the way to go.
Yeah.
This is
so
what we do now.
You can tell me that I can't
Vape.
smoke in a casino. That's totally fine. I can't smoke in a club. That's fine, Mr. Wynn.
Yeah.
Really?
I can hit this really quickly. There's a new vape also that came out that's odorless.
Oh.
That's the one, because this is not like that stinky, but it's still like a slightly older. And there's a new one that's older. This is Hippie Trips.
Oh, that's a good grip.
Yes, one of our sponsors.
Yes,
Hippie Trips.
So
Hippie Trips.
it's MJ Biz is going to be big. So they, you guys heard about what's going on with the whole controversy and the concern around the loss of license for obviously for the casinos.
Yes.
So they're shifting it from Rio to Las Vegas Convention Center. It's perfect timing because they were growing. So last year they were supposed to cap at 7,500. They actually ended up selling 10,800.
Yes, it sold out. I think the second day.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was right after voting, right? So we had a big thing. 8 out of 9 states
Yes.
in November voted yes. Arizona didn't. They're dealing with that. But there was such a big push, and all of a sudden, to your point, that's why we joke around. The suits really are for investors
Yes.
or lawyers.
That's it.
That's really it.
That's
The
what.
rest of us do dress like we came from the .com or the tech industry, and that's pretty fitting. The tie-dye and the hippie stuff, as much as I respect the crowd that I grew up around in NorCal, we're trying to shake that stigma.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm offended by the term counterculture. It really should, if anything, call it a subculture if you want, but it's not counter to anything anymore if it's legal.
Yep.
You see, being a brand ambassador and Guy, he's thanked us for. Our company alone here, our IBXX Collective, we pride in the rebranding of the hippie or whatever, the user of cannabis. I don't even know what to call us, but the consumer.
Well, the patients and consumers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they look for that. They look for a certain, starting off with the tie-dye, starting off with something psychedelic, and a lot of the brands. I have a lot of friends. I'm like, come on, man. Like, I'll do the graphics for you for free. Could you change that? Seriously.
Well, for that, the counterculture, subculture, whatever you want to call it, that's why we created Elevate Nevada Magazine, was to remove the stigma. I've been smoking a little too long since 1992, and probably every night, and I had the wife. And
doesn't the wifey help with the graphics, doesn't she?
She does all the design, but
wow.
I have the white picket fence, I had the 2 kids and a boy and a girl.
She gave me a run for my money. I'm going to just, see, lucky I know her.
We did just win best covers in all the state of Nevada from the
Yo, that's what's up.
Which I have a copy in mine at home. I enjoyed it. Very great.
I have
was like, oh my god.
And we also won best website for every magazine.
Whoa, that's what's up. Elevate Magazine, y'all check them out. And the website is
ElevateNV.com.
ElevateNV.com, y'all check that out. That's nice. Okay, yeah.
And ironically, I always said we're the Time Magazine of pot.
Yes.
Us and Time Magazine had the same cover in September.
No.
Well, very similar.
Well,
Very
obviously
similar
not the same. There would be some plagiarism involved.
Well, and everybody thinks we copied them, but I don't know anybody at Time Warner.
I'll post that in the subject for you guys on the podcast when you check us out on YouTube, the Blended Podcasts, everywhere on all of our social networks. Back to the MJ Biz. We were going to be doing, because I do the champs twice every year.
I do.
My guy just walked in here, Tony Soul, Tony S, and kind of like helped us with, just 3 years ago with one of our brands was the Medicated Mansion. That was the brand that we did starting. We had mansion parties. He was curator of the mansion, and the community was. We knew it was growing and it was coming, so we took the risk, and we promoted a party several months, like around this time when we talked about doing it, and it finally got word back to the actual convention champs itself via Urban Magazine.
Was this a party that was out?
You went.
I got there, but I didn't make it out. I didn't make it out.
Cottonmouth people.
Were you here at the
It was
champs?
fire. I heard about it. Yeah, I was.
Because when I first seen you, I didn't want to, but I knew you looked familiar. But because the Kings are friends of mine who I went on several tours with. What's up, Daddy X? Everybody, Cottonmouth Kings.
What up?
ICP, that's all my fam. Woo woo, all my family right there. Triple Crowners. So again, like I said, we had enough time to plan it. We was like, yo, this is gonna be a killer one because we used to do the off-brand parties, and none of them were ever sanctioned. So Urban Magazine called I forget his name now. Oh my God, he's gonna kill me. Jeff, he called Jeff from Champs and was like, hey man, we wanna get in on you guys' party. We want to go to your party. He said, what party? He said, you know that big party, that mansion party that you guys are throwing? And he was like, we don't, that's not our party. What? Oh, wow. Oh. Yeah. Contacted us. It was, man.
That was the party. Just
that was like,
on the floor. Like,
bro, we turned away how many, at least about 500 people that we turned away.
I'm going to tell you that I went to that party and I was stuck outside of the mansion for a little while because right when I arrived was when the cops were there, and so we were standing outside alongside of the street, and everyone's like, "Just be quiet, just be chill. As long as you're quiet and chill, don't worry about it." So me and my girl were standing there just waiting, and I see this knucklehead talking to the cops inside the cul-de-sac, and I ain't seen him in years. I'm like, I know that. And so I was like, and then we're waiting, and so I'm like, yeah, I want to see how this plays out.
What saved me
cool. So
was the fact that I just got there. I had just got there. I had smoked. I had did anything because I had prepped earlier that day. Went home. Was like, oh, let me get dressed. And no sooner than I got there, maybe like 10 minutes. Tone comes over to me. Mean Green comes over. The cops is outside. And at that time, literally, I mean, the place was packed. We had
there was like even 200 people in a line.
3 dab rooms going already. It was insane already.
3 huge dab tables.
Oh my God!
It was at a crazy crescendo. We already had probably about 700 people pass through that spot already. Okay, so when Metro came, being the host of the house, I had to talk to them, and I thought
Tony had to turn away. You turned away the party bus because I was like, Tony,
that's why I turned away Metro, and they were like, "Is it about this? Is it about the smoke?" They're like, "No, it's not about the smoke," because that's right when medicinal became legal. So the smoke wasn't the problem. We were in the cul-de-sac with 2 other mansions with regular old school Vegas folks,
so
and they were like, all the traffic in our cul-de-sac coming to this young folks' house.
Because we were busting them in. We were literally party
helicopters. Like Metro had it on lock.
It was $100 a head.
It was like Project X.
It was $100 a head to get in. Yes, it was. And that was one of the premier. I would still say to this day that was the premier cannabis party for
for Nevada.
Nevada, the medicated
without
mansion.
A doubt.
Yeah, which was the precursor to the Up High Mansion where I met my friend here, Guy, and several others in the community. And let me just say this too as well, like why I got everybody's here. I mean, all the community here is very small. We don't have to act like the nightlife groups. I work for the light group. I still got love for these guys and everybody else, but it's like we don't. There's enough for everyone. Seriously, we don't have to be going, stealing concepts, going against each other, backbiting. We don't have to do any of these things. Seriously, and for one, that's just not like cannabis users and like weed smokers. Like weed is like a thing. Like, hey, you smoke, I smoke, and you pass it. So puff, puff, pass, man, and peace. Yep. Peace to everybody out there. In this growing community that we have. I'm definitely looking forward to the consumption lounges. That's my. Y'all gonna have to hire me. Like seriously, I put in too much work. Too much risk, Tone, right?
It'd be nice if you guys would have a time for MJ. But this is awesome. I mean, they've sold 15,000 tickets, and they're projecting they'll sell 18,000 tickets.
Well, I went on the site.
So, I mean,
I went on the site, and they were. What I found that was cool, like any party that was going on within the community, they was like, "Hey, we'll help cross promote with you," which no other convention, mind you, that ever witnessed do that, like ever, just any convention.
Yeah,
because it's all about the community.
Yeah, I thought that was
that's
pretty
what's
cool
different
too,
about the cannabis culture is the community.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So I think last minute we probably still, guys, we probably should still definitely do something just for the sake of period, man, just for everybody that we lost. I mean, put some stuff up in the air for them, and just again, Vegas strong, and just for the fact that we keep moving forward. Don't have to be a name. You don't have to call it the Harvest Fest. It's anything, whatever. Don't even want to.
Just a little
something, just to celebrate. I mean, because I was happy.
Yeah.
You guys want to pull in your resources?
Yeah.
I know a few people.
I know, like the first day, we was out there. Like we did a party at Thrive.
Oh, cool.
And we also had another party scheduled. This is when we found out that they pulled regulations on us.
That's how we know how quickly Vegas policy can change.
Oh,
because,
yeah. Our second party was shut down.
We had a 3-day event planned that we had been working on for several months. And then in trade for location for at Thrive, we helped them with their big July 1st, celebration for recreational.
Yeah.
And then in turn, we would use their property the following weekend for our event. It was like, it would help them, it would help us. It was going to be beautiful.
It was a big party. I stopped by I had to come out.
We had
here for that.
So this was 7-10 weekend.
Yeah.
So 7-10. So 7-10 weekend. We had a huge giant stage. We had vendors. We had artists. We had thing that you could ever want lined up. And then Vegas said, no, dispensaries can only have one event per month, and if you want more than that, you have to put in a special request, which will take 30 days.
And we found this out the day of our event. Mind you, there were several hundred people.
That sounds expensive.
And,
Oh.
we don't even want to talk about that. You know why? Look.
I know you didn't. I know you didn't. I know you didn't mean to accidentally pour that salt all over this gaping wound I have.
This is how. I mean, because we have several different companies in the focus group, and being a brand ambassador, this is how we sum that up.
Yeah.
Being a new company, any company, you have to spend marketing dollars, and we were fresh out the gate, and so we just basically chalked that up. You know. Mm-hmm. Do we have a caller? We got a caller. What's going on today? That's us.
Get it.
That's us. Hold
on.
Oh, we got somebody on the phone. I didn't know somebody was calling in today.
Hello, caller.
Hello, caller. You on the air? Blended Podcast.
Hey, is this Shelly?
It's not Shelly. This is Phoenix Blended Podcast.
I was trying to get a hold of Charlie. I thought he was doing a radio show right now.
Nope, wrong radio
show. Sorry, Charlie. Wrong show.
It's all good, man. I'm still listening to you guys. I just turned you guys on, so...
Cool, check us out, man. The show is called The Great American Gold Rush. We're talking about trees, green, marijuana, cannabis, herbs. Thanks for calling in, man.
Thanks, man.
All right, listen.
Wow.
Sorry, Charlie.
I guess we should say sorry, Charlie.
Sorry,
You know what, so
Charlie.
let me just give out a quick shout out just for future reference. If we do have any callers that have questions or comments, you can call 702-749.
9874.
Thank you.
That's us.
I got you, go. No, we got this.
You make a better door than window, babe. I'm all,
I'm trying to say I know I'm black.
Oh my God.
You're transparent, but you're not transparent. You're transparent, but I can't see through you. And how much time we got? Oh, okay, we got about
We got some
5
time.
minutes left.
We're doing good in time, man. This is a great interview, man. I really, again, I appreciate you guys for being in studio with us, man. This is it was on time. My one of my good friend of mine, Jean Green, she was supposed to be our caller. She was going to be our guest for the day. On the phone, she was she's grandfathered in. She's been growing for more than 10 years. But one of those, just growing for herself kind of growers now. And I was who's going to get her take on just how things are affecting her. She actually moved from Nevada because of the way the laws and everything used to be, and they changed so rapidly. She called me just recently, I cannot believe. I was telling her what's happening. She's like, I can't believe that. I just packed up everything, my grow and everything, just left. She was actually doing my strands. That's another thing. What I see in the not so distant future. I mean, E40. Just he has his pre-rolls.
Huge Bay Area.
We have Exhibit with Brass Knuckles. Yep. We have
he was actually at our party.
Killer Priest and Ghostface with their fire sticks and the Woo Goo. What I see is just as well as you have any brand of liquor, alcohol, or product, you're going to have artists and people coming out. You're going to have somebody who's going to be the face of your brand.
I would like to say, if Apothecarium Source and Jimmy's Dispensary in Nevada made marijuana, it's carrying the Elevate Nevada strain named after a
Whoa! Wow!
I need to try
And it's hybrid. It is amazing, and I got some pre-rolls for you guys if you swing by.
Oh no, we
got to try last night.
We're going to the house.
Oh yeah, we're going over Sunday, right?
Yeah, out home all day. I smoke all day.
Sunday, okay.
Sunday fun day. I have a shirt.
Great. We got the we got the meeting.
I know what I'm wearing.
The meeting was Saturday with Ari and Mike. Shouts out to Ari, Cooking with Ari. That's another one of our blended couples. They're a part of this grandioso blended thing that we have here. But she's a cook, and he is another radio host on Mike P, Lady G show here in town. And check with him on Saturday, and we'll be that's what's up on Sunday. So again, we're gonna try, man, to do something definitely for
yes, let me know.
For the MMJ biz.
I'll throw some social media posts out for you with our followers.
Oh God, I know you always take care of us. I don't, I don't make those calls because I know
official, unofficial, silent part.
Guy and silent in the same sentence. That's cute.
It's like you know him. Oh my God.
I'm very excited today.
I respect what he has to do. And he's like,
I'm a talker too. That's why.
Yeah, he knows. Like I'm in the industry rap. He has to work through us. Like guys, he has to still uphold a certain, And so he's like, hey man, I have to live vicariously through you guys. So please.
I remember when you guys came to the office for the first time. I fell in love with both of you.
I know it's fun.
Danielle brought us.
Yeah.
She came to our house.
Yeah.
She came to one of our things, and she's
Several
like,
times.
I just love you guys, and you have to come and meet guys. And so we went into the elevator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Danielle used to be at Evergreen. She just started working as the purchaser for Reef right now.
Oh, she moved.
Yeah.
Dang. I love you, Danielle.
Cannabis parties that was sometimes turned into swinger parties. I mean, it was just
You didn't invite me to any of that.
I mean, hey.
Seriously?
But look, you know what?
Wait, I am not mad at you.
Okay, look, I'm gonna keep it.
She was not, okay?
I'm gonna keep it 1,000. Okay, look, there was our business out there.
I'm glad we got through politics, money, and sex. The three things you want to talk about in the first
What? No, we
date.
didn't.
This is, I know. I'm gathering that.
Do you believe that Jesus is your Lord and Savior? No, we
I'm spiritual.
Amen.
I'm
not
religious. I'm
religious.
from Northern California.
I love you.
There's no religion there.
Amen.
Blended
Love
podcast.
is my religion.
This is the blended podcast. I mean,
Oh, wait, who is it?
we got to call it on it.
Who is it?
For somebody. Let's see.
It might be Stacy.
Stace.
Might be Charlie.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, my name is Tori from Customer Contact. In the past year, have you or anyone... Yes.
Sorry, Charlie.
So,
If so, vote for Brian Sandoval. That's your best way. Oh man.
Oh, that's
That's like, what
awesome.
is the wrong number for $500?
Quick
Oh,
Wow.
I'll have to come out here more often. You guys are fun.
Yeah, anytime. So how long are you in town for?
I'm driving home after this.
Oh,
so,
man.
but I'm out here almost once a month, if not every other month.
Thank
It really
you
is a
so
second.
much
You're gonna be back
for
for the back for the biz though, for sure.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely.
All right, well, you know what? Let's
Definitely
exchange info so
For
we
sure.
can keep in touch. I'll give you our cards, and then
Okay.
then we can make a plan and we can do something.
Yeah, in a way we can help. That's again.
You
You got anything that you're promoting right now? Any business company that you
Just me.
that
I
you'd
mean,
like to
that's
shout
just
out?
me.
Yeah, I
Lance
Where can they find you? Where can they-
It's lancelambert.com is how you can find me. And I love the cannabis. I love weed maps. They're great opportunities. But I did have several individuals in the industry that were asking for help and at what capacity I could do it. And the only way to do it was to become a freelance, literally and metaphorically speaking. So yeah, I don't have anyone to promote. Just I can tell you that there are definitely some brands that are looking to get involved in Nevada. So
How about a nonprofit? Would you be interested in?
oh yeah, I do love
I got
NFTs.
something
And that's
for
just me, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I've done all kinds of stuff nonprofit. Being a cancer survivor, anything to do with cancer, I'm a
Really?
huge fan of. Yeah, 14 years free. So yeah.
That's
So I'm definitely I'm a big fan of pro about that.
Nice.
Awesome.
Very much so.
Wow.
Very much so.
Right.
Well,
So-
awesome. Thank you so much, Guy from Elevate Magazine. Elevate.
Definitely before we get out of here too, I know Tony, man, we want to give we lost a really good friend of
I was
ours.
gonna say that, yes.
Yeah, you didn't have to say it. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
It's funny. I've been in the household this all week, like in a little cubbyhole, and it was asthma. It's just from a simple asthma
Yeah,
attack.
rest in
man.
peace to Raymond Almarte Voodoo Ray.
Voodoo
Boogie
Ray.
Ray, original B-boy, original house dancer, New York City, from the Bronx, uptown, promoter, host, brand ambassador, actor. Like, he had a big part on the Get Down recently. Like, this guy was the best dude, like, you would ever want to meet. Had a smile on his face every time you met him. Integral part of keeping the house music movement going, the hip hop movement going with Tony Touch, and like just suddenly died Tuesday night of complications from an asthma attack, and the whole community is just still in mourning right
Devastated.
now.
I have
Yeah.
to say, he popped the memories popped up on several of my social medias. I never met the man, but I feel like I know him now because so many people in my circles started chiming in. Heather Hunter, even, she 35 years they were good friends. They went to school together, and I was just like,
We all grew
"Dang."
up with Heather.
We all,
Like,
Yeah,
we all grew up in the dance community together, like
Mhm.
on auditions in the nightclubs, being little B-boys and B-girls. This kid helped choreograph some of like the top, music videos. Went on tour with Mariah Carey and
Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson, like you name it. Like this, this guy, it's just sad. He was only 50 years old, and he just did his 50th birthday party, like like a year ago or earlier this year, and like gone too soon, but never forgotten. Voodoo Ray.
Voodoo Ray, man. Miss you, brother. That's what's up. Okay, Elevate Magazine, elevate.com.
Elevate and
Elevate NV.
Yes.
ElevateNV.com.
Absolutely. And then that's Lambert.com. Special shout out to our sponsor, Slick.
Before we get out of here, you got anything coming up, Tom? Any parties, anything you're filming?
Just working on the next Art and Soul experience, possibly for First Fridays, and putting together a new Latin.
Trying to do that down at the Eclipse, right? That's what.
Possibly down at the Eclipse Theater. Just waiting for contracts. Trying to do it legitimately.
Yeah.
On point this year. So when the contract.
Yeah, we've been running into a lot of
Exactly.
Gotta have your promoter's license, all those kind of things,
Exactly. So that's coming up. Wherever it takes place, just look out for the Art and Soul experience happening in Las Vegas real soon. A few other things coming up on the radar. It'll be on social media.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very
That's
much.
what's up, y'all. Blended Podcast.
VIP.
PXO, Anari Vox, Vegas Raw Radio, WBKE, man. Y'all make sure y'all check us out on all social networks. The Blended Podcast, Blended Bunch, man. We'll be back at you next week. We got Busy B in the building celebrating his 50th birthday, man. Yup, the Chief Rocker Busy B gonna be rocking out with us, man. Thanks to Guy, our boy Lance right here, and everybody in the studio.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, so and a couple other things, whatever. Yeah, just for the phone. Yeah. Because what I'm gonna be doing is like most of the companies and stuff that we work with, I do the commercials. So I'll know the commercials and the tags, and that'd be cool too. You know what I
Do
mean?
the pre-recorded messages
Yeah,
for the commercials.
in the beginning, halfway marker, we do have all the
And then it
commercials
gives us a
running.
quick break.
Just a quick little break to breathe.
I would also like one that I can play throughout the day.
Oh, nice. Just to advertise what we do. Okay, great. Gotcha.
Oh, then you know what? The next time that all of us are in studio together, we can do a little copy and we can all do it. Yeah.
This is shoot.
And if you have again, you didn't got a good show on Monday, you got some good guests coming in, you could tell me that so we could promote that for you guys.
Okay.
On the website.
Oh, the promote the who we got coming in the show. Okay.
Music, whatever.
Yeah.
So the more information you supply us,
I got your stuff missing.
Okay, beautiful.
Got you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because I got a flyer. I got
Okay,
graphics
and then
everything
I
next
wanted
week.
to find out the information of being able to broadcast remotely.
Okay.
If you have that option to do so.
Yeah, you have the option. You just let me know when.
Okay.
I can make sure I'm available.
Okay.
And it's 75.
Okay, perfect.
And if it's during, we could do it during the show time, or we could do it another time. But if we do it at another time, they still have to download the app, but it's on
Blended Podcast. We out.
I remember it last year.